The Connors is finally back. Yes, of course, the industry strikes delayed everything for the fall season, and now we finally get the premiere of season 6. It's hard to believe this show has been on for 6 seasons, but let's talk about the Publisher Cops show pilot. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It, and welcome to my Connors review for season 6, episode 1. I cannot believe that this show has been on the air as long as it has. Time really does fly, because if you include Roseanne season 10, this is now the 7th return season for the Connor family, and it's kind of wild. So before we talk about this specific episode, let me welcome you back to Dan Reviews It. Thank you for checking us out here. If you come for the Connors every single time that there is a new episode, well, welcome back. If you are new around here, well, I have all the Connors reviews from the past seasons, including Roseanne season 10, and I've even broken down the original Roseanne seasons, and I've done season reviews of those. You can find all of that stuff on my channel. I've made playlists of most of the specific seasons as well, and I do a lot of other stuff on the channel, movie reviews, other TV reviews, so if you don't want to get lost in the shuffle here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell, and then you'll get all the alerts when I drop new episodes for everything but the Connors as well. And you can check out my Connors season 6 playlist on the homepage as well. But feel free to check out my other stuff too. Right now we're ramping up to the Oscars, so reviewing a lot of the Oscar movies and some of the recent other TV shows that have been on. But listen, here it's all about the Connors, of course, in this video. So we're going to talk momentarily about the Publisher Cops show pilot. But again, before we do that, let's just reintroduce ourselves to season 6. So Jaden Ray is no longer a part of the cast. And I think we all kind of figured this was coming at some point because the Mary character just has had very, very little to do these last few seasons. I can't remember the last time she had an episode, around her character. It's been forever. And of course, they got rid of Michael Fishman. Was it last season or 2 seasons ago now? I forget. But he's been gone a little while. And so, yeah, it made sense maybe a little bit that she was spending her afternoons there. But I think it's time to get rid of that character. Nothing against Jaden Ray. I'm sure she was fine. She just didn't really get a chance to show us much of her acting abilities. So we've taken her out of the mix. We still don't have Katie Seagal as a regular, but they did change the theme to reflect that Jaden Ray is no longer in the show. So now it's always the Connor breakfast table, or in this case, dinner table. But it's always mealtime at the Connor house in these intros. And we've shifted now to taco night is the new theme for the season. And so we get that in the opener. And there was no cold open in this episode either. It went right into the episode, or the theme song, and then the episode itself. So hopefully we bring back the cold opens. I love the opening scenes before we get to the theme song. But anyway, so what else? What other housework is there? Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is that I've had a few questions on some of my older Connors videos about, hey, how can I catch up with the older Connors episodes I missed, whatever season. So if you are here in the U.S., you can check out the episodes as they come up on the CW. So the CW is running back-to-back Connors episodes on Thursdays, so 2 episodes a week. So it will take a few months, to really cycle through all of the episodes, because they are only doing 2 a week. But if you don't have cable or whatever, they are also putting them on their CW app. So as they are airing them, they're on the app. So right now they're only, I think, 10 episodes in or something to season 1. So, if you're missing some along the way, unfortunately, these are not available on Hulu anymore. I hate when they do that, because I know I'm catching up on some older seasons of other shows that are still available on Hulu, and some are not, and that's always frustrating. But the other good news is that the Connors finally will have enough episodes to enter 5-day-a-week syndication this fall. So you can check out all of the past episodes. I do not believe that includes Roseanne season 10. I think it's just going to be the Connors. I might be wrong on that, which is unfortunate because they have never released Roseanne season 10 on DVD either. So those episodes maybe are just lost in the ether, or perhaps you can still purchase them on iTunes or something. I don't know, but unfortunately, they're probably not going to rerun those. I know they're not part of the Roseanne syndication package, but anyway, so it's a few months to catch up, but eventually the CW will kind of catch up to where we are with their weekly airings, and then in the fall, the Connors will be stripped in 5-day-a-week syndication. So you'll have to check your local listings on that. Okay, so now that we've done some housework for the lead up to season 6, let's talk specifically about this episode. This is called the Publisher Cops Show Pilot. And I'll explain what all of those titles mean here in just a second. It was directed by Jody Margolin Hahn, a longtime member of the Connor staff. She's directed, usually multiple episodes per season, in the 5, 6, 7 range. So she is always on top of things. And then this was written by 3 Roseanne and the Connors vets as well: Bruce Helford, Bruce Rasmussen, and Dave Kaplan. All of those guys have been a part. Well, Bruce Helford, part of the original Roseanne. I'm not sure about the other 2 if they just came up for the Connors, but they have writing credits, every season as well, doing different episodes. So obviously we've got the heroes behind the scenes doing the writing and directing for this episode. And we see everybody in the main cast now that Mary is no longer part of that. We see all the. Oh wait, did we see Mark? I think we saw Mark in the background. I don't know if he really had any lines, though, did he, come to think of it? Tell me in the comments if I'm misremembering that. But I think in one of the opening scenes, he was sort of in the background, and he's certainly in the opening credits. But I don't remember if he had any lines in this episode. So, yeah, tell me in the comments. But we have everybody else, and we add Louise into that mix as well. We don't see Neville, but he's talked about a lot in this particular episode. All right, so the opening is, and this is, I guess, probably the A-plot, even though it doesn't really have anything to do with the title. That's all sort of Darlene and Dan stuff that we'll get into. I guess each of the topics probably gets fairly equal weight, but since they start at the Lunchbox, we'll talk about that first. So basically, the Lunchbox has become kind of a mess, and Jackie is really neglecting it, not taking her time and care with it because she wants to be with Neville. Hey, I'm married now. I want to, for the first time in my life, really, have a life and be with somebody that cares about me and blah, blah, blah. So, okay, she's sort of mentally checking out of the Lunchbox, leaving Becky and Louise kind of in the lurch. And so Becky decides to write to a few of the TV shows that are about, fixing up restaurants and stuff. Obviously, these are takeoffs on, some of the Gordon Ramsay shows and whatever. So they get a response back from one of them. And this is a fake one. It's not, product placement for another show. But Nick Offerman plays the host of this. And, of course, we know and love him from Parks and Recreation and many other things. He currently has an animated show on Fox where he does a voice called The Great North, which is a pretty funny show. You should check that out. I think that airs on, Sundays, of course, is their animation block. So at some point on Sundays it airs. But anyway, so he comes in and Becky sort of lies to him a little bit in her letter, and she sends in a picture of her daughter that is from when she played Annie in a school play, so she looks very disheveled and all of this, which was pretty funny. And we actually don't see Beverly Rose in this episode, but again, she's spoken about a few times. But so that gets this guy into the mix, and he says, okay, let's meet and see if this restaurant really does need my help and whatever. And I thought the opening scene with him was a little odd. He was a bit standoffish, and Ben kind of annoyed him, asking for an autograph. But moreover, I thought it was weird that he wouldn't have the camera crew with him, even when stopping into a place and interviewing them. Because if you ever watch a show like that, they really start from the ground up, introducing themselves and, okay, show me, what's going on with your restaurant, whatever. So it was a little bit sort of weird that they didn't have camera people in there during the interview portion. But all right, whatever. It's a sitcom. We can throw some things away that are not necessarily material to the plot. But we learned that, yeah, this place really is a disaster. And the whole time, he's just looking at all of these, frozen foods and prepackaged foods, that he cannot believe that they're serving the public. And at that point, we have Darlene's daughter kind of speaking up and saying, "Hey, listen, I've been eating here for years, and yeah, why has the food sort of gone in this direction, as opposed to the fresh food when I was coming up?" And Jackie basically is like, "Look, I don't have the time. I'm with Neville," and going into that whole spiel. And the Nick Offerman character is like not having any of that, and he's like, "Look, this is ridiculous. We need to get our stuff together here. You need to either be in this or out." She tries to plead with him, and you don't know what it's like to run a restaurant. Obviously, a guy like this, like a Gordon Ramsay, like these TV show hosts, has a multitude of restaurants already that have been successful. And so he says, "I have 35 restaurants right now." And of course, that leads to a great Jackie retort of, something to the effect of, "Oh, you're still waiting for one to hit, huh?" Or something like that. Or you're still waiting to get it right or something. It was very funny. But anyway, so we come back a little bit later to that, and he feeds them some things that he made with their equipment, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, this is like really good." And it turns out that, yes, he went to the farmer's market down the street and got some fresh stuff, and that's what they're eating. And so it turns out, they all love it, and they're like, "Oh, this is great. We should be doing this all the time." But Jackie wants out. She basically decides that she doesn't want to be doing this anymore. She goes through, a couple of her jobs in the past, and her reasoning for even getting involved with the restaurant again. "Oh, I wanted to, show my mother I could do this, and X, Y, and Z, and I have kind of done it, but now I'm ready to, go have a life with my husband, and that's something I've never been able to do." Again, we're sort of glossing over the existence of Fred and Andy from the original Roseanne series. I've talked about that many times on these reviews. It is what it is. I don't love that Andy's not involved. I get that maybe they don't want to bring Fred back or talk about Fred, but Andy was her kid, and he did exist, and it is sort of a bummer that we're not going to have him, anymore. But so she did at one point have a family and a life and all of that, but for this timeline, if you want to call it that, of the Connor family, she, did not ever have a child, and that didn't exist. And so yes, this is for all intents and purposes her first marriage, and the first time she's felt this way. So it makes sense that she would want this, because in this timeline she's never had it. But in any event, the whole time the Nick Offerman character is like, listening to Harris. Harris, has all these ideas, and, "Oh yeah, we used to eat better here," and whatever. And he's like, the solution is you should take over, the restaurant for Jackie, and, run it with Becky and Louise or whatever. I guess Louise just works there, right? She's not part of the ownership. I sort of forget how that breaks down. Is Becky part of the ownership? Tell me in the comments. You guys are always, better with remembering this stuff than me. I think that's true, though. I think Jackie and Becky bought it together, right? Which is why Jackie was kind of on Becky's case when she went back to school, because she wasn't putting enough effort into it. I'm pretty sure that's how it went. But in any event, so basically Harris is going to be one of the new people to run it. She's got great ideas, and he's joking with her about how, you've been here all day just sketching a bottle of ketchup, so you obviously have nothing else going on. And so that's where we're going to go with that. I'm pretty excited about the future of the Lunchbox. I love that we brought this back in general a few seasons ago. I think it's really cool. So it'll be nice to see kind of where that goes in the future here as we get into the rest of the season. But let's get to the other sort of A story, which brings us the title, The Publisher Cops Show Pilot. So Darlene and Dan are out having some hot dogs for lunch, and they run into an old colleague of Darlene's, um, that she worked with a few years ago, and turns out she's published some books by this point, and she says they're with Simon and Schuster, which Dan mistakes as cops. He thinks the books are about Simon and Schuster, who are two cops. So Darlene explains to him, no, that's the name of the publishing house, and it's a pretty big deal, whatever. But the cops thing sort of goes throughout the rest of the episode as a running gag, and the tag scene on the end, him and Ben are sort of acting out a script or whatever from this Simon and Schuster show that Dan has created, and it's very, very funny. Of course, there was a real I don't know if they were cops or what they were, but Simon and Simon was a show when I was growing up in the '80s. I was too young to watch it, and doesn't really get rerun, so I forget if they were cops or what the story was. But so it makes sense that he would think Simon and Schuster is a show, and he came up with a couple different scenarios for them. So that was pretty funny. But that conversation leads Darlene into feeling pretty bad about herself. She has in her mind taken a step backwards, in her career, and this other gal is just living it up. I think her name was Amanda, and she's just doing great, and being a published author, and so Dan chimes in trying to help and saying, hey, you know what, Darlene actually ran a magazine for a little while, and she was really having a great time with that, and Darlene is embarrassed to say, yeah, it was a tabloid, mugshot rag, basically. And we see that kind of come back later on in the episode, because it turns out Darlene was kind of pissed that Dan did that. And I thought this was a really, really interesting scene. And look, on these Connors reviews, I usually, lay it all out. I get pretty personal. But I have had actually similar discussions with my folks, because I have always sort of felt like the underachiever of the family, the disappointment of the family, and not, for anything really except in my head, but like, my one brother's a lawyer, and my other brother, he's now a stay-at-home dad, but, he was a professor, and he has a master's degree, and all of this, and it's, I've worked a lot of retail jobs and food service, and some of these more blue collar jobs, and I did have a similar conversation with my folks, I don't know, 5 years ago or something. I was like, look, I get that everybody else is doing so well, and I'm the first of your kids to not have a master's degree, and like all of this, and they had the same reaction that Dan does here. Basically, Darlene was upset with her dad for saying that, because she felt like that was not what she wanted to be doing in her career, some stupid tabloid magazine, and she couldn't even make that work, so she just feels like a disappointment and a failure. And Dan's like, whoa, 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 first of all, of course you feel that way, because parents don't really tell their kids that they're proud of them. They tell other people how proud they are of their kids, which I do find sometimes to be true. I think ever since that conversation, my parents have been a lot better at that. But in any event, it was a good line for a laugh. But there is some truth to that for sure, I think. And he pointed out to her, look, you are taking this sort of hiatus from finding career work to work at your son's school's cafeteria so your son can go to school. You took Becky and her street urchin daughter in, call back to the Annie joke, when she needed a place to stay. I wouldn't have this house if you didn't help me out. You've done all of these great things. You're the furthest thing from a disappointment, and the only one disappointed in yourself is you. And I thought that was a really, really great scene, a touching scene. Of course, the Connors and Roseanne before have always been great at giving us those really, really poignant scenes. And I talk about that all the time. If you watch my reviews, that already. But yeah, this was another example of that, and especially one that hit home for me, because I had a similar conversation, and the outcome was fairly similar. My parents were like, "What are you talking about, dude? Like you are one of the nicest people, and you're always helping people in need, and even though maybe you think you don't have a glamorous job, like you've been able to save and you own a house and blah 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 blah. So I just thought that was really really a great conversation scene between the two of them. So look, this was a good start to the season. I don't think this was anything earth shattering, but it does seem like we're going to move the Lunchbox perhaps in a new direction under Harris's tutelage, which could prove a little bit interesting. Maybe her and Becky are going to be butting heads. Obviously, she's a lot younger than Becky and Louise, so she may try to hip the place up or something. I don't know. So hopefully we gain some things there. And then, Darlene and Dan, still plugging along, and we love that. I'm not going to name an MVP for this episode, just because it's just nice to have everybody back. A few seasons ago, I started naming MVPs for the episodes, and usually it's the character that either, had the most laughs or, had the juiciest storyline, or the actor, really sunk their teeth into the character in that episode, or whatever. But this time around, I think we'll save that for next week. We'll pass on that. Just say everybody did a great job, because it's just so nice to have this show back. And originally this was slated to be the last season, but I don't know if that's still true. Let me know in the comments if you've heard something that I have not. But with the strikes and everything, and this being shortened to what I think is going to be a 12 or 14 episode season, I know Abbott Elementary is getting 14 episodes a season, so I imagine the Connors is sort of somewhere in that range. But I don't know if this is supposed to be now the last season anymore. Because of that strike, they may say, you know what, let's just do another season, which I would love, because I hate saying goodbye every year to these characters. So anyway, let's grade this episode, though. We must do that. So the Publisher Cops Show pilot, I'm going to give it a B plus. Pretty solid start to the season. Could have used maybe some more laughs, but I really liked a lot of what was going on here. Love that scene, obviously, with Darlene and Dan, as I mentioned. So, all right, listen, that will do it. I'll be back next week. There's, I think, every week in February there are new episodes. I believe that's true. So we're going to get 4 in a row, I think, which will be great. So I'll be back with you next week for another episode. And check out my other reviews here, not just the Connor stuff, but like I said, I do movie and TV reviews all over the channel here. Just about every day something new goes up, so there's always a lot to check out. But if you are interested in just the Connor stuff, it'll be easier to find these videos if you subscribe and click the notification bell, or check out the playlist on my homepage. All right, that will do it. Thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It. We'll see you next time.